What's going on, everybody? It is VBL-S Season 10. We are back at it with a draft review. So happy to be back for Season 10. Honestly, kind of crazy that we've made it to 10 seasons. I know a lot of draft leagues kind of fall apart, but this league truly is the best one around. And we're only able to do what we've been able to do thanks to the great community. So anybody watching this, anybody in the league, my thanks go out to you. We couldn't do this without you guys. You truly are what make Draft League a hobby worth pursuing. If the community we had wasn't the community we had, I can't say I'd still be doing this. But thankfully, we do have the best community around, so I am still doing this. So if this season's theme is cooking with dark meat, what does that mean? I don't know. Maybe we'll learn about that in a little bit. Starting off, I'm done. I'm done with the playstyle from last season. Bulky, slow stuff, Trick Room for Rigger Raft, Rin Snarl, Skeledirge cleaning up in the back, Wuchien occasionally making an appearance. I'm done with that. It was a great time while it lasted. It had great success. Conference champion, definitely something to be proud about. Not quite grand champion. I didn't end up uploading my grand champion video or grand finals video because I may or may not have gotten a little bit salty. Also, it just wasn't a very entertaining video. It was very quick, and I made a lot of dumb plays. I wish Ray and I could have another match with those same teams, because I think I definitely didn't play at a championship level. And that's why Ray won, because Ray is a great coach, and you have to be a good coach to beat Ray. So, that's neither here nor there. Last season is in the past. I don't want to play bulky stall anymore. I want to play a new team, a new season to learn what my new team's going to be like, a new season to learn how different mon works, and I'm just happy to be here for it. But to start, before you draft, I think it's always a good idea to take a look at what the format looks like, what the format provides, and based on these points of data, make possible choices about where I can go in the direction of my draft. So we want to look at the overall stats of the format and how they've changed from last season. Overall, they're pretty much the same. Attack is higher than special attack by about 10 points. Special attack bumped up more than attack bumped up. A lot of the new mons that got added into Regulation D are special attackers from the past. And there's not as many physical attackers from the past that came back. But we still do see the physical bias does exist and is a real thing. So, something to keep in mind. Looking at the bulk distribution, it's also about the same. Slightly more effective physical defense than effective special defense. I should probably I'm just going to make a video later on during content week, hopefully, if I have the time, fully explaining the effective defense system versus the raw in-game defense HP system, which I think is kind of silly, but we'll get to that later. So what this means, essentially, the mons are roughly equally bulky on each side of the spectrum. These mons here are mons that match the mean of the format, right? So our Bolova is about as bulky as any given mon of the format is going to be. Glaceon is about as specially bulky as any given mon of the format is going to be. Looking at speed, the average speed stat is 85, and there are a lot of blue Pokemon that have a speed stat at 85. That means nothing. Just something interesting that I thought I'd point out. I mean, look at all these blue mons. That's a lot of blue mons that have base 85. I smell a conspiracy. The next thing I want to look at are the tops, the tippity tops of each of these given stats. So these are considering the total, the sum of what it takes to be a good attacker, right? So having a good high base attack stat is important, but that's not everything, right? If you have a high base attack stat with like mono poison coverage, you're not going to do as much damage as a different mon with maybe a lower attack stat and like sheer force, something like that would do. So what these next couple slides are about, these are the average damage output of for the attacking stats, right? It's the average output. So that factors in stab type combo. So poison is going to be worse off than like ice or fighting. You can see there's two ice types up here, and it also factors in built-in abilities. And by that I just mean the ruin abilities, because whenever Chien-Pao attacks, it's going to be essentially doing, I don't remember the exact math, like 4/3 more damage, I think, because it reduces defense by 25%. So that essentially increases your attack by like 4/3, I think. If I'm wrong, the result ends up being the same. So, if you want to deal some physical damage, Qianpao, Landorus, and Crabominable, shockingly, are your best bets. If we want to look at physical bulk withstanding those physical attacks, we have 3 mons actually tied for the top spot. That is Tinglu, again, and both of the Avalugg forms, both Hisui and traditional Avalugg. They have they're all 3 of them are tied for the physical bulk. Dondozo's number 2 there, and Iron Hands is a solid 3rd place. Looking at special attack, not really shocking anybody. Chi-Yu is the most potent special attacker in the format, followed not closely by Tornadus Therian and then Landorus and Carnot. The stab combos of what the fuck am I talking about? Of ground flying and electric flying are too good to pass up, combined with their pretty naturally high special attack stats. And if you want to resist those special attacks, obviously you've got the queen of special bulk, Blissey, right up there at number 1. That is not even close. Tinglu is in 2nd when you factor in the Vessel of Ruin, and Gudra is at 3rd, and that is regular Gudra, not Hisui Gudra, because I think Hisui Gudra has less base HP than regular Gudra does. I'm sure it does. Otherwise, they would have been tied. And if we want to look at overall bulk, Tinglu, number 1. And then we have 2 newcomers, Cresselia and Wo-Chien, for 2 and 3 respectively. Cresselia is the archetypical bulk lord of VGC seasons past. Obviously, everybody knows how bulky and good this thing is. And Wo-Chien is as bulky as it ever was. I mean, last season we saw Wo-Chien was never knocked out in a single hit. This thing is a monster. But not as monstrous as Tinglu or Cresselia. So, I showed the same graphic last season. I really wanted to draft Tinglu last season, and I ultimately was not able to. But I'm not a changed man. I wanted to draft Tinglu. Tinglu, I will draft it. But maybe not now. I'm done with stall. I'm done with slow stuff. Fuck Tinglu. Fuck Wo-Chien. I wasn't allowed to draft Tinglu again because Steve took it right before me. But we're going with Dark Spam Hyper Offense. That's where it's at. Stall, slow, balanced playstyles, out the window. We're going fast. We're going hard. So, starting off Dark Spam Hyper Offense, we have none other than Urshifu, the good one, the single strike one. So, before we get too in-depth into this, we have up here on the top right, we have Urshifu's stats broken down by attack, effective, defense, and special attack, speed, and the effective base stat total. Urshifu is in the top 90th percentile for attack, top 85th percentile for physical bulk, and 70th percentile for speed, which is, honestly, pretty good. I also have my wife's thoughts here for all of the mons that I ended up drafting. So what is Urshifu? It is the single scariest attacker in the format. Kind of a toss-up between Urshifu Water and Urshifu Dark. I've always been a fan of Urshifu Dark. I really love the dark fighting coverage. It is so hard to resist, obviously, unless you have a fairy type. But you know, that's what Terrestrialization and the other 3 mons on your team are for. Urshifu can't be expected to kill everything in one hit, but it can kill damn near everything in one hit, right? Wicked Blow, even getting nerfed by 5 BST, 7.5 BST effectively. It matters, right? But it's not the worst thing in the world. It still does crazy amounts of damage. You have close combat for another incredibly powerful stab move right off the rip. But Urshifu Dark also has a lot of... It has a good enough utility. Taunt is obviously important. But what Urshifu's, plural, offer for a team is that they really scare the opponent out of click and protect. And I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? You don't want to protect in front of the mon that just ignores protect with effectively every move that it will probably be clicking. So having either Urshifu on your team help you in the builder, because your opponent's maybe gonna overlook adding 1 protect on their team, and especially if it's on the field, there's a good shot they're not gonna click protect with either their mons. So that gives Urshifu more opportunities to do what it wants. It gives the rest of your team more opportunities to do what they want, be that clicking protect themselves and maybe absorbing 2 attacks on a double target, or maybe using some kind of status move, fake out, tailwind, I don't know. Maybe my team has those, we'll see. But Urshifu is a super strong mon, and I think it's a great mon to build your team around. I have drafted this mon before, but that was in VBL-N, I think season 2. But you know what? That format was different. It didn't have Terra, but it also didn't have Dynamax. And Urshifu was crazy there. It put in so much work for me. Urshifu is great in that it can run a variety of items. It also really likes both of the new items, the Scarlet and Violet. Well, not both. There's more than two. But Clear Amulet is a big one for Urshifu. Obviously, Wicked Blow doesn't care about stat drops, but Wicked Blow is not your only move. You have lots of other ones. You have Close Combat. You have either pick... Essentially, Urshifu is going to be running Wicked Blow, Close Combat, either of Poison Jab or Iron Head. And those other two moves really don't want to have your attack dropped because Urshifu 130 attack is great, right? But if you're at -1, you're not going to be picking up the Okos, and you might even miss out on some crucial 2-hit KOs. And Urshifu is definitely not bulky, so on the special side at least. So it can go down pretty quick from there. So you really want to be able to leverage the most of your 130 attack stat, and Clear Amulet can really help you out there. And as for the older items that Urshifu's run in the past, they're still great, right? This mon is always going to be good in a format without Dynamax, and I'm kind of crazy that it didn't catch more than a 5 base stat, or a 5 base power stat nerf going into this gen. So what do I want to pair Urshifu with? You know, that's the question. It's a pretty fast mon. 70th percentile is pretty good, but you know, it crucially misses out on that base 100 speed tier. So there's a lot of things that can be faster than. I mean, right, 30% of the format is by definition going to be faster than Urshifu. So how do I deal with that, right? I'll show you. We draft Tornadus Therian. Tornadus Therian, I think, was the value pick on the board. This thing was 13 points for a mon with an effective base stat total of 500, which is monstrous, right? We have really solid defenses, right about or slightly below average, but you know, you could pump those up. You can invest heavily into them because we have a 121 speed stat here, which is in the 93rd percentile, which is crazy. Also, these percentiles are for fully evolved mons, so this isn't getting bumped by like, oh, I outspeed Tarantula. No, these are actual mons that you might see in the format. In Tornadus Therian, it's going to outspeed 93% of them. On top of that, it's more specially offensive than 80% of them. And paired with the new, what's it called, Bleakwind Storm move, this thing's crazy. I mean, these mons didn't need... The 4 genies didn't need any new moves coming into this game. But, you know, we got to throw them a bone. They weren't good enough. They haven't been dominating enough in VGC's past. So let's give them cracked signature moves, right? That'll balance them out. Because they really needed some help. So we've got a super fast mon with Regenerator, which is an ability that kind of is overlooked on anything that's not a Moongus. But this thing has the bulk to live like a big hit, switch out if it needs to, and then come back in and live that same hit again because you've got a 33 extra percent there. Tornadus is great, right? For 13 points, it's essentially doing all the same things that regular Tornadus does. You know, you're not quite as strong. You don't have Prankster, but 121, it's essentially Prankster, right? There's only 7% of the format that's going to be faster than me. So I basically have Prankster. Sure, maybe I can get outsped by Scarfers, but Tornadus Therian is a great Scarfer itself. I mean, Tailwind, Icy Wind, good moves to have Scarfed. U-Turn with the Regenerator built in. That is an amazing move to Scarf yourself into. Or if I just want to get a little crazy with it, I can go Choice Scarf with my Bleakwind Storm. And if I hit, so what is it? 80% to hit, 30% to drop speed. I can't do the math right now, but you have a good shot of lowering at least one of the opposing mon's speed stats if you throw it a Bleakwind Storm. Flying is a good offensive type, right? It hits a lot of things for neutral damage, good amount of powerful types for super effective damage, and it's just always going to be almost riskless move to throw out, especially when it's the same base power after factoring in the spread move damage cut. So it's essentially just a better air slash, because dropping speed can sometimes essentially be the same as getting a flinch for your teammate to act before them. So honestly, Tornadus Therian should have cost more than 13 points. I didn't notice it. This wasn't like malicious tiering. I just didn't notice. But this mon is great. Super value for 13 points, and I think it's going to put in a lot of work. I can see this thing coming every single week. But here's my little transition. I want to have good offensive mons to pair with Tornadus, right? I want to have good mons that can deal a lot of damage. I have Urshifu for the physical side, so I would probably want to get a mon that has pretty high special attack. Or I could just pick the mon with the highest special attack in the format. Chi-Yu in round 3 is fucking crazy. I didn't think I was going to get this thing. honestly, maybe for the entire the entire generation. Chi-Yu is a super good mon. I was talking about it in my video with Electric, and I said Chi-Yu is definitely first round material. It's like one of the top 5 first round picks. Granted, that was Regulation C. Things changed a bit in Regulation D, but I still think Chi-Yu is crazy. I didn't pick it first because Urshifu I think is a better first pick. But hey, for pick number 3, Chi-Yu is a hell of a drug. This thing is insane. We have 69th percentile for raw special attack, but when you factor in typing and Beads of Ruin, it's number 1, and it's not even close. This thing is so unbelievably strong. It boosts the rest of my team by just existing on the field. It's super versatile with its Terra type, and if you invest into its HP, it actually gets bulky enough to live some pretty important hits, right? If you combo that with Terra, Chi-Yu's on the field for multiple turns in a row, dishing out incredibly powerful Dark Pulses, Heat Waves, single target fire moves like Overheat or Fire Blast. This thing's insane. Not to mention its 100 speed tier is pretty good, so you can run a bulky Chi-Yu, kind of like a bulky Fluttermane, right? And obviously not as fast or supportive as Fluttermane, but you can run a bulky Chi-Yu with like Will-O-Wisp. It gets dual screens, it gets taunt. That's really good stuff there. You can run Lava Plume if you want to protect your partner and just try to go for a double burn. It's like Scald but better, right? Chi-Yu's a cracked mon. Picking up in round 3 is probably a sin, but you know, I got it. Maybe I'll pay for it. This mon is giga nuts when it's going first with Tornadus. You can use pretty much any item you want on Chi-Yu, and it'll end up paying off in the long run. Some notable mentions: you can use either the stab boosting ones, Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, Focus Sash, whatever the hell Chi-Yu wants to do. It's such a good mon, and I'm so happy I managed to draft it, especially in round 3, because that means I got some crazy stuff with it. So, up next, I want a mon that can take advantage of Chi-Yu's Beads of Ruin. Obviously, Tornadus can. Hitting a Bleak when Storm off Beads of Ruin can do lots of damage, but I like to do some more spread damage. And Toxtricity is the king of dealing spread damage. We have Stab Overdrive with Punk Rock. We have you can tear it to normal and do Stab Boom Burst with Punk Rock, and that's doing some seriously scary numbers, right? 114 special attack is pretty good, 85th percentile. You add on Punk Rock, you shoot up from there. You add Throat Spray for all the sound moves, you shoot up even higher. Toxtricity is insane. I also had the same season I drafted Urshifu the last time, which is kind of crazy. But I think on that team, I think these two are my kill leaders, because I also had Spectrier and like Mega Gallade on that team. But I know Urshifu was up there, and I'm pretty sure Toxtricity was either tied with it or like slightly below it for the number of kills in the season. And that was in a Natdex format with like Mega Evolutions and all that kind of stuff. So Toxtricity can really get the job done, and it really loves the format where it can tear it into a type that is immune to or resists ground. Nobody likes having a quad weakness, but thankfully ground is the type that is probably the easiest to become immune to, right? Terra, or there's an entire item dedicated to becoming immune to ground types. You've got the Air Balloon, baby. So pair that with some speed control, with some Beads of Ruin, and Toxtricity deals a lot of damage. And one of the most important things about Toxtricity that I was really looking to pick it up for was its really good partnership with Urshifu. Assuming I can get speed control, or maybe even not, I can just slap a Choice Scarf on it. Toxtricity is really good at helping Urshifu deal the damage that it needs to, because Urshifu Dark is completely shut down by fairy types, and if I don't want to terrestrialize Urshifu and go for like a Poison Jab or an Iron Head with the Terra Stab, I can send in Toxtricity to just go for a super powerful Sludge Bomb, which deals a ton of damage, especially if you're trying to invest to live Urshifu's hits. You can't invest to live Toxtricity and Urshifu at the same time, you have to pick one or the other. And sometimes it's just not possible to outspeed both of them and KO Urshifu first, so you're going to take that Stab Sludge Bomb, you're going to take a lot of damage, and you're going to lose a lot of mons to that, plus Overdrive. Toxtricity is a great mon. I've loved it before, and I'm really happy to see. I'm really happy to draft again, and I can't wait to see what it does in this next format coming up. So up next, what else is scarier than being facing an Urshifu and a Chi-Yu on the opponent's side of the field? I can tell you what's scarier than that: not being able to switch. I have Gotharita back. Well, not back. I had Gothitelle a couple seasons ago, but I have Gotharita here, and it's essentially just as good as Gothitelle. Factoring in the Violate, it's super bulky, 70th percentile physical defense, 90th percentile special defense. For a Babymon, this thing's crazy. I think this was 11 points or 12 points. and this mon probably should be costed about the same as Gothitelle. Obviously, it doesn't have the same damage output, but that's not what you draft Gothitelle for. You draft the entire Goth line for Shadow Tag, Fake Out, Trick Room. I mean, look at all these boxes it fills in, right? When I added Gothita, I don't even know what I've been calling this thing. Have I been calling this Gothitelle? It's Gothita. Or no, it's Gotharita. I hate the naming of this line. Gotharita fills in so many of these boxes. We got Fake Out, Taunt, T-Wave, Dual Screens, Trick Room, Helping Hand, Trick, and I'm sure there's other stuff on here that I didn't even consider. But this mon is insane. It's such good value for 12 points. I think it ended up being the only Violet user on my team, so it's not ever competing for an item slot with like Chi-Yu or Urshifu for the Focus Sash. But if I want to, I can throw a Cloak on it, a Mental Herb, anything like that. It's just a really, really good support mon. Between Frisk, Fake Out, or the always super high importance threat of just having Shadow Tag to shut down my opponent's switching, it's going to be hard. You're going to see Gotharita on a lot of my squads, and it's so hard to play around because you can't switch. You better hope you have a good lead, because I can just lead Gotharita plus Urshifu or Gotharita plus Chi-Yu, and you better hope you have a mon that can live a Helping Hand, Wicked Blow, a Helping Hand, Heat Wave, because I'm going to do a lot of damage, and there's not much you can do about it, especially when you have Fake Out, right? Like, that's just not fun, and that's why Gotharita is the fun police. So, moving on, I ran out of a lot of points. Urshifu was the maximum value on the board, 25 points. Chi-Yu was 22. I had some value picks there with Urshifu Toxtricity, but I spent a lot of points really quick. So, I needed to find some cheaper mons that filled some niches that I needed on my team, and I think I found a good couple of mons that really fit the bill. I gotta shout out Colby for this. He helped me pick out some of these lower tier mons. So thanks, man. I couldn't have done it without you. So we have Arbalova next, and this mon is kind of a strange mon. It's kind of hard to play with. I haven't seen it do too well in any of the seasons so far, but I think with the team that I've got, I think I can make it work. So Arbalova, really strong special attacker. Obviously want to pair that with Beats of Ruin. Heck yeah. Good defensive profile. Grass type has a lot of key resistances. Normal doesn't help that much. The Ghost Immunity isn't really that relevant for my team, so it hurts more than it helps. But hey, you know what? I got another Stab Terra Blaster. So Farigiraf, maybe this is Farigiraf's spiritual successor. Who knows? We'll have to find out. It's slow as shit. So again, maybe similar vibes to Farigiraf, a slow Trick Room mon. But what Arbalova offers is just a nice, thick, bulky grass type to my team. By the time I came to this mon, there weren't too many good grass types left. There's honestly not too many good grass types in the format right now. I think about it. There's Urshifu, Amoonguss, maybe Brute Bonnet. Yeah, that's a bit questionable though. I'm sure there's some obvious ones I'm forgetting, but those are just the big 2.5 that come to mind. But Arbalova is really not that far behind. It's kind of like Urshifu, right? If it takes a hit, it sets up gravity terrain. So you got that, but it has a better secondary ability than Urshifu, right? So you don't always have to run Seed Sower. You can run Harvest. It's a totally viable ability. It's been good in the past. I've seen people make it work really well, especially if you pair it with a Sunny Day setter, like maybe Tornadus, because I have Chi-Yu who wants the sun. I have Arbalova with the Harvest, and I have the Stab Terra Blast. So maybe I Terra Fire this, and suddenly I'm getting a Citrus Berry every turn. I'm hitting you with a Stab Fire, move onto the sun, and doing a lot of damage, and it's suddenly out of control, and you don't know what to do, right? So Arbalova can do a lot of stuff. It has a lot of different items it can run viably. It's got the bulk, it's got the special attack to get it done. The coverage is a bit bad, but you know, Stab Terra Blast is crazy, man. You can do whatever you want with that. Also checks off a lot of boxes here. Another dual screener. Encore is a super important move that I kind of didn't mention earlier. Toxtricity learns Encore, and when you're in front of a Chi-Yu or a Toxtricity or even a Tornadus, honestly, any of these mons, right? You want to be clicking Protect. So a slow Encore is pretty bad, but you know, if I got Trick Room up, that slow Encore suddenly becomes the fastest Encore in the field, and then you're cooking. So completing the Firewater Grass Core, we have Samurott, who is the 27th best starter Pokemon, but I mean, that's pretty good, right? 27th best, nice. Samurott has really good stats. They're all pretty evenly distributed, which isn't quite exactly what you want to see, but depending on the mod, depending on the situation, that can work. So we have pretty decent attack, pretty decent special attack, mediocre speed tier, but good enough bulk. It kind of pays off, right? This thing can do a lot of different stuff, right? It can do assault vest, it can do physical or special. It can even just slap on a mystic water, just hit you hard with hydro cannon, which does a crazy amount of damage. But the best thing about Samurott is that move pool, right? This thing has so many moves, which, it kind of needs to actually stand out. It doesn't have any astounding stats, so being able to pair decent stats with a great move pool definitely makes up for that. I wish this was Hisui and Samurott. I love Ceaseless Edge. It's such a fun ability, or such a fun move. Spikes and VGC are crazy. I'm excited to see how the seasons of the people who drafted Cleaver and Hisui and Samurott go. I really hope those mons are as strong as I think they're going to be. But, we're not talking about Hisui and Samurott. We're talking about regular Samurott, right? We have Torrent, we have Shell Armor. Both are fine abilities. Depending on the week, I could see either or coming. Like if I'm facing the other Urshifu, Terra Ghost, Shell Armor, there you go. Done deal. But most of the time, Torrent's probably going to be what comes. It has a good move pool. Water's always a great type to have. And good enough stats where I think this can just get the job done. It's not going to be flashy. It's not going to be anything crazy. But, look at all these moves it fills off, right? It has to be good. Alright. So, Stonjourner. Why did I draft this thing, right? This thing is a weird Pokemon, honestly. Look at these stats. This is 85th percentile for attack. 125 is super high. Rock Stab is amazing. 97th percentile for effective physical defense. Holy moly! This thing takes hits like a beast. But then you look at the special side, right? This thing has the lowest special attack and the lowest effective special defense in the entire format, which is bonkers. This mod has been maxed in like the weirdest way possible, especially when it has a totally mediocre speed tier. It's a really weird mod, right? But Stonjourner has one niche, and it does it really, really well. It shows up into the partner slot. It clicks Wide Guard. It clicks Protect. And it effectively clicks Helping Hand, kind of, at the same time. Your partner has a permanent Life Orb boost. You don't have any other ability. It's Power Spot or nothing. So you're getting that Life Orb boost. You better be making the most out of it. And if there was a team to take advantage of a free 30% boost, I think mine's the team to do it. Tornadus is super fast, but its 110 special attack doesn't quite get the KO. But, if I have a double Life Orb, I start picking up some KOs, right? Chi-Yu does a shit ton of damage. It does even more with this. Same thing for Urshifu. It's such a good ability. Toxicity. I have so many mons that pair well with this. Spread damage is Stonjourner's best friend in like both sides, right? Outcoming spread damage and incoming spread damage. I slap Stonjourner on the field. I click Wide Guard. I block their spread move. I hit them with my spread move. Everybody's happy except for my opponent. And that's what we love to see. We love to see a mon like Stonjourner. We love his cocky little smile. He's super cute. He's just out here to have a great time and rain rocks on my opponent. Because especially, if I have like a Scarf Stonjourner or something like that, and I hit a rock slide and I get a flinch, with that extra, like, essentially a Life Orb boost, that's a game-changing flinch right there. On a team with Chi-Yu, Urshifu, Toxicity, something like that, any turn my opponent loses is critical. That's like a game-losing thing, right? If you need to take out my offensive mod right here, right now, and Stonjourner just suddenly gets a fucking 20-30% chance flinch, cool. I lost the game. So, I think Stonjourner is great. It'll have a lot of good moments. I feel this season. Choice Scarf is kind of what I'm looking at here, right? But don't tell my opponents. Up next, we have another value pick. We have Little Darkspun. I didn't have a fairy type. This was the best fairy type left on the board, so that's why I took it. But on further thought, I think Darkspun is actually really good. For 5 points, this thing is pretty bulky, pretty fast, and it has one of the most insane abilities. Completely immune to fire moves, gets a free iron defense for no reason. This thing is the ultimate iron defense. Well, you know what? It's the ultimate iron defense body presser because it gets the iron defense for free, right? I have Chi-Yu, who has Lava Plume. In the past, you've seen this thing paired with, like, what, Flareon for Lava Plume body press? Like, oh, okay, fine. Fight me with a Flareon plus a Darkspun. I encourage you to do that. But when it's something with a Chi-Yu, that gets a little bit more scary, right? Chi-Yu does serious damage, you get a double burn. If you get a burn with Chi-Yu and a +2 defense on this thing, Darkspawn is never going down to a physical move. Just max out attack, max out spadef, and you're good to go, right? This thing gets wish, it can stick around if it wants to. You can run a bunch of different items, Assault Vest, Sash, Pixie Plate, because you can run Pixie Plate now because it's Reg D. And Citrus Berry are all great options. And Darkspawn has the Fairy Stab, which is so important. Darkspawn's another good user of Terra. I haven't really mentioned that too much in this review, but Darkspawn's great with Terra. Anything that has an immunity ability is great with Terra. So Terra Steel, you're only weak to ground and fighting, neither of which you're weak to in the first place, so you're probably not going to have to take one of those. And, it's pretty hard to take down a Terra Steel Darkspawn. So I think that's something that I'm probably going to be using whenever I bring Darkspawn to a game. Up next, we have our second to last pick. We have Alolan Dugtrio. This was the worst Pokemon on my Season 17, where I also won the Conference Championship. This thing, I'm not gonna hold you. This thing fucking sucks. I hate Alolan Dugtrio, but you know what? It does two things that are, or maybe three things that are really good for my team. It has Stab Ground and Stab Steel coverage, which is super important. Obviously, this is not a defensive Steel type. If you say that, you will get laughed at, because this is another one of the most frail mons in the format. Not quite especially frail as Stonjourner, but it's pretty damn close. But what this mod does is it hits you with a Stab Earthquake, it hits you with a Stab Iron Head, which is nice. And the other thing it does is that it has a nice 110 speed tier. I have a gap between Tornadus and Chi-Yu between 121 and 100, so a nice 110 fits in there, very nice. I don't like Alolan Dugtrio. I'm not happy that I had to draft it again, but here we are. I can see it showing up to match up similarly to how it did the last time I drafted it. If I really need something to spam Earthquake, I bring Stonjourner, I bring Dugtrio, I protect, and I shoot off Earthquakes, and I hope and I pray. And maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't. Dugtrio offers no support moves. Looks like it has Helping Hand, which is news to me. But Stab Earthquake, that's something, right? Enough about Dugtrio. We're on to the very last mon on my team, and that is Banette, which is a mon that I don't know if it's ever been drafted from VBL before. If it has, I haven't ever seen it do anything. And Banette is a mon for 3 points that I think is pretty good value. This thing is the third strongest physical ghost type. We got Dragapult. Okay. We got, come on, man. There's another one that's up there. But then it's Banette, Annihilate, and Bramble thingy. Bramblegast. The three of them are tied at 115 attack. So, that's something, right? That's gotta be something. 115 attack, essentially negligible defenses, a decent special attack stat, a usable special attack stat, we'll say. But the thing about Banette is this thing has a crazy move pool. Look at how many boxes it's filled in. I was going to just pick a cute mon and nothing throwaway mon for my 11th pick, because what does the 11th pick ever do, right? It almost never comes to games, doesn't ever really do much, but I can see Banette being an 11th pick that actually shows up and puts in a little bit of work. Taunt? No. I'm not so sure about knockoff, because I paused a little bit ago because it shows Torn T with knockoff, but I don't think that's accurate. I'm pretty sure that's not true. I think Banette actually does get knockoff, but I don't know why Tornadus is there. Banette has Encore, Will-O-Wisp, T-Wave, Trick Room, and Prison, which is nice. Doesn't show up on there, but it has Imprison as well. Icy Wind, Trick. This thing has a crazy big move pool. Doesn't quite have the stats and bulk to live for multiple turns to do things with that good move pool, but one turn could be enough, especially when you have a hyper offense team like mine. Maybe hyper offense. I don't know. I guess that's what I would kind of classify it as. But for 3 points, but that's about as good as you could do. There wasn't too much else 3 points that I would put any value into, but 115 attack, Stab Shadow Sneak, Terra Ghost, maybe there's something there, right? So that is the team. Here's a nice little family photo of us on the beach just a week ago. It's been great times. We've all gotten to know each other really well, and I'm super excited for this season. Happy to be able to pick up this team. I can't say how happy I am to get Urshifu and Shiyu on the same team. I have ways to deal with fairy types, which are kind of the two obstacles to those two tearing through teams. And I'm excited for the season, man. Super excited. I play my week 1 pretty quickly here because Steve's got a trip. But that's that. That's the team review. Hyped about this team. I'll put out a season 9 review eventually. But until then, that is the Season 10 team, and I will see you all in the next one. Adios.